Dr. Alan Wright stared at the radar screen, his brow furrowed. The hurricane forming in the Atlantic wasn't following any normal pattern. It had grown from a tropical depression to a Category 3 storm in less than 24 hours, and the barometric pressure readings made no sense. "Susan, can you verify these readings?" he called to his colleague across the lab. Susan Miller looked up from her computer, her eyes tired from the 12-hour shift. She had been working at the National Weather Service in Boulder with Alan for 7 years, and she had never seen him this concerned. "Already checked them twice," she said, pushing her glasses up. "Whatever we're seeing, it's real." Alan ran his hand through his graying hair. At 52, he had studied more storms than he could count. This one was different. The satellite imagery showed odd energy formations around the eye that he couldn't explain with current meteorological understanding. "I'm sending this to NASA," he decided, typing quickly. "This goes beyond our equipment's capabilities." While Alan worked through the night in Colorado, 47 million miles away, another set of eyes watched the same storm with even greater intensity. Senior researcher Clivax adjusted the observation equipment on the Zexorian science vessel. His slender, blue-tinged fingers moved rapidly across the control panel as he enhanced the imaging of what his people called Sol 3, the third planet from the star humans named the Sun. "Narsic, record these energy signatures," Clivax ordered. The junior researcher beside him quickly began the recording sequence. "This is the 4th atmospheric disturbance this month with the same weapon signature." Narsic tilted his elongated head, his large, pupilless eyes blinking vertically. "Are we certain these are weapons, senior researcher? The patterns show some similarities to natural phenomena on..." "Natural?" Clivax made a whistling sound through his breathing tubes that indicated disbelief in Zexorian communication. "No. Natural weather system generates these energy patterns. The humans are clearly testing their atmospheric manipulation technology again." The observation chamber was quiet except for the soft hum of their advanced monitoring equipment. Through the viewing screen, Earth looked peaceful, a blue marble swirled with white clouds. But Clivax and his team of 12 scientists had been studying this planet long enough to know that appearances were deceiving. "The Science Council meeting begins in one cycle," Narsic reminded him. "They will want your preliminary report." Clivax nodded, his thin neck stretching slightly. "Prepare the data visualization. Focus on the Caribbean deployment zone and the previous 3 weather events. The Council needs to understand the pattern of escalation." Back on Earth, morning light streamed through the windows of the Boulder facility. Alan hadn't gone home. The data from the hurricane had kept him working through the night, and now he was on a video call with Dr. Olivia Martinez from NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center. "I'm telling you, Olivia, these readings don't make sense," Alan said, pointing to the charts on his screen. "It's like something is adding energy to the system from outside." Olivia's dark eyes narrowed as she studied the data. Her reputation for solving atmospheric puzzles had earned her respect throughout the scientific community. "You're right," she said finally. "And there's something else. Our orbital monitors picked up unusual radiation above the formation zone before the storm intensified. I thought it was equipment malfunction, but seeing your data, could it be solar flare activity?" Alan suggested. "No," Olivia shook her head. "Wrong signature completely. This is..." She hesitated. "This is going to sound crazy, but it's almost like something was scanning the storm." In the Zexorian vessel, Clivax stood before the projected image of the Science Council. 7 elder Zexorians whose silver skin indicated their advanced age and status. "The evidence is clear," Clivax reported. "The humans have developed their weather technology beyond our previous assessments. What we once thought were natural disasters are clearly controlled atmospheric weapons of remarkable power." The head counselor leaned forward. "Your certainty is troubling, Clivax. If humans can indeed control their weather systems as weapons, they represent a far greater threat than we previously believed." "I recommend we expand our observation team," Clivax said. "The human weather weapons show patterns of increasing strength. They may soon develop the ability to project these effects beyond their atmosphere." The council members exchanged concerned glances. "Request granted," the head counselor decided. Your team will be doubled. If humans are indeed weaponizing their planet's atmosphere, we must understand this technology before they perfect it. As the council meeting ended, Clivax returned to the observation deck. Below, the hurricane had grown to Category 4, its winds exceeding 150 miles per hour as it moved toward the eastern coast of the continent humans called North America. What the humans named Hurricane Eleanor, the Zexorians classified as weapons. Test 347B, and they watched with growing fear as it gathered strength. Hurricane Eleanor hit the Florida coast with unexpected fury. Weather forecasters had predicted it would weaken before landfall, but it did the opposite. The storm surge flooded coastal towns and the winds tore roofs from buildings. Emergency teams rushed to help people trapped by rising waters. Dr. Alan Wright watched the destruction on the news screens at the Boulder Weather Center. Each report of damage made his stomach tighten. If he had understood the strange readings sooner, maybe the warnings could have been stronger. "Don't blame yourself," Susan said, sensing his thoughts. No one could have predicted this sudden intensification. Alan's phone rang. It was Olivia Martinez from NASA. "Alan, I need you to come to Goddard," she said, her voice tense. "There's something you need to see in person." "I'm in the middle of tracking the hurricane," he replied. "This is connected," Olivia insisted. "I've already spoken to your director. A plane is waiting for you at the airport." 4 hours later, Alan walked into a secure room at the Goddard Space Flight Center. Olivia was there with a tall man in an Air Force uniform. "Dr. Wright, I'm Captain Eric Daniels," the man said, shaking his hand firmly. "I specialize in atmospheric physics for the Air Force." Alan noticed the security clearance badge on the captain's chest. It was higher than he'd ever seen. "What's going on?" he asked. Olivia dimmed the lights and activated a large screen on the wall. 3 days ago, our deep space monitoring system detected this. The screen showed what looked like a satellite image of Earth from a distance. But as Olivia zoomed in, Alan saw something that made his breath catch. An object, clearly not natural, hovered in orbit. "That's not one of ours," Captain Daniels said quietly. "And it's not from any other country either. We've checked with everyone, including the Chinese and Russians." "Are you saying—" Alan started. "We're not saying anything officially," Olivia cut in. "But yes, that appears to be an artificial craft of unknown origin." Alan stared at the image. "What does this have to do with the hurricane?" Captain Daniels stepped forward. "Every major weather event in the past 2 months has been observed by this object. It changes position to stay above the storm systems. On the Zexorian vessel, Clivax led his expanded research team in analyzing the hurricane data. 24 scientists now worked around the clock, studying what they believed was Earth's most dangerous weapon technology. The humans are becoming more bold," Clivax said, pointing to holographic displays of the storm. "This test targeted one of their own population centers." "Perhaps it was a miscalculation," suggested Narsic. "Their control systems might have failed." Clivax shook his head. "No. Look at their emergency response teams. They were pre-positioned. This was planned." The newest member of the research team, junior scientist Zorik, looked up from his station. "Senior researcher, I've found something in the historical archives." Clivax moved to Zorik's screen. "What archives are these? I don't recognize this data format." "These are restricted historical records," Zorik admitted. "I received special clearance from Science Council member Trivax. They detail a previous Zexorian mission to Earth over 3,000 cycles ago." Clivax's eyes widened. "We've been to Earth before?" "A colonization attempt," Zorik explained. "It failed because of what the records call hostile atmospheric conditions and devastating sky weapons. The expedition was nearly wiped out." 3,000 cycles ago? Clivax did the conversion in his head. That's approximately 7,000 Earth years. The humans were primitive then. According to these records, the expedition believed the weather attacks were controlled by the planet itself, not the primitive humans, Zorik said. They thought the planet was somehow alive and defensive. Back on Earth, Alan studied the data, collected by NASA's satellites. The energy readings from the object match what I detected in the hurricane, he said. It's as if it's scanning the storm system. Or controlling it, Captain Daniels suggested. Olivia shook her head. We don't have evidence of that. We don't have evidence of anything except an unknown object taking interest in our weather, Alan said. What do we do with this information? Now, nothing public, Captain Daniels said. A small team at the Pentagon is aware. General Patricia Collins is assembling a response group. The three of us are part of it. Response to what? Alan asked. We don't know their intentions. Exactly. Why we need to learn more before causing panic, Olivia said. The next step The Pentagon War Room was silent as General Patricia Collins studied the satellite images. 5 people sat around the large table. The General, Dr. Alan Wright, Dr. Olivia Martinez, Captain Eric Daniels, and the newest addition, Dr. Linda Patel, an expert in communication systems. So let me understand this clearly, General Collins said. We have an unidentified object in orbit that moves to follow our major weather events, and now we have 3 new objects that appeared overnight? Yes, General, Captain Daniels confirmed. The new arrivals are smaller than the first, but they appear to be of similar design. Alan pointed to the weather maps projected on another screen. And now we have unusual storm formations in 4 different locations. A typhoon near Japan, cyclonic activity in the Indian Ocean, a severe storm system in the Midwest, and another hurricane forming off Africa. They're studying us, Olivia said quietly. That's the only explanation that makes sense. General Collins frowned. Or they're causing these storms. We can't rule that out. Linda Patel cleared her throat. General, if they wanted to harm us, they could probably do much worse than bad weather. They clearly have technology far beyond ours just to get here. A valid point, the General admitted. Dr. Patel, what progress have you made on communication? We've prepared a series of mathematical sequences we can broadcast toward them, Linda explained. Mathematics should be universal. We'll start with simple number sequences and build to more complex concepts. Aboard the Zexorian main research vessel, Clivax faced the holographic images of the Science Council. The 7 elder Zexorians looked more concerned than he had ever seen them. 4 weapons tests simultaneously? Asked the head counselor. This is beyond what we anticipated. Yes, Council Elder, Clivax replied. And their scanning of our vessels has increased. The humans clearly know we are watching. Could this be a demonstration of power? Another counselor asked. A warning to us? That is our leading theory, Clivax said. The 3 support vessels arrived successfully, and we are gathering data from all 4 weather weapons. The humans seem to be showing us the reach of their technology. What of the historical records that junior scientist Zorik uncovered? The head counselor asked. Clivax hesitated. They are incomplete, but they suggest our ancestors believed the planet itself was hostile, not necessarily the primitive humans of that time. And now the humans control these forces, the head counselor said grimly. Chief Military Advisor Dralax will join your mission tomorrow. His expertise may be needed if the humans become aggressive. Clivax felt his breathing tubes tighten. The addition of military personnel changed the nature of their scientific mission. Understood, Council Elder. Back on Earth, Linda Patel initiated the first communication attempt. From radio telescopes around the world, simple mathematical sequences beamed toward the alien vessels. First prime numbers, then the value of pi, to many decimal places, and finally mathematical representations of atomic structures. In his hotel room that night, Alan couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling, thinking about the strange visitors and their interest in Earth's weather. His phone buzzed with a text from Olivia. Turn on the news. Alan switched on the television to see reports of a sudden severe tornado outbreak in Oklahoma. Over 30 tornadoes had formed in less than an hour, something that had never been recorded before. His phone rang immediately. It was Captain Daniels. Are you seeing this? The captain asked without greeting. Yes, Alan replied. This isn't natural. The general wants us back at the Pentagon now. A plane is coming for you. On the Zexorian vessel, Clivax watched in horror as the human weather weapon unleashed destruction across the flat lands of North America. "They're responding to our arrival," Narsik said, his voice shaking. "This is clearly meant as a threat display." "Record everything," Clivax ordered. "The Council needs to see the full capabilities of these weapons." Junior scientist Zorik approached carefully. "Senior researcher, I've been analyzing the signals being directed at our vessels. They appear to be mathematical sequences." "Mathematics?" Clivax was surprised. "Are they targeting calculations?" "No," Zorik said. "They appear to be communication attempts. They begin with prime number sequences, then move to universal constants." Clivax stared at the data. Could the humans be trying to establish contact while simultaneously demonstrating their power? The thought was chilling. Chief Military Advisor Dralax would arrive soon. Once military leadership became involved, scientific curiosity might give way to defensive action. Clivax needed to understand the humans' intentions before that happened. "Prepare a response using the same mathematical format," he ordered Zorik. "But do not send it until I give permission. We must be certain of what we're dealing with." As both species reached for understanding, the skies above Earth grew more turbulent. The Oklahoma tornado outbreak left 6 small towns in ruins. The National Guard helped search for survivors while medical teams treated the injured. News helicopters filmed the destruction from above, showing houses reduced to splinters and cars tossed about like toys. At the Pentagon Command Center, Alan watched the footage with a heavy heart. "All these people," he said quietly. "If the aliens are causing this, we still don't have proof of that," Olivia reminded him. "The timing is suspicious, but correlation isn't causation." Captain Daniels pointed to the latest satellite data. "The alien vessels have repositioned. All 4 are now stationed above the tornado zone." "Studying the aftermath," Alan suggested. "Or admiring their handiwork," General Collins said grimly. "Doctor." Linda Patel rushed into the room, her eyes bright with excitement. "We got a response. The aliens answered our mathematical signals with their own sequence." The room fell silent. First contact had been established. Linda displayed the received signals on the main screen. They sent back the same prime number sequence, then added the Fibonacci sequence and what appears to be their own mathematical constants. "Can we build on this to establish actual communication?" General Collins asked. "Yes," Linda nodded. "I've already sent the next sequence with simple pictographs. If they respond, we can begin developing a basic language." On the Zexorian vessel, Chief Military Advisor Dralax inspected the tornado damage imagery with cold efficiency. His uniform, adorned with medals from previous conflicts, set him apart from the science team. "This is clearly a demonstration of force," Dralax stated. "The humans show us their weapons, then immediately attempt communication. The intent is obvious." Clivax disagreed. "We can't be certain, Advisor Dralax. The mathematical exchange suggests they may simply be curious about us." "Curious?" Dralax's breathing tubes flared with irritation. "They destroyed 6 of their own settlements. This species is either showing us their power or they are dangerously reckless with their weapons." Junior scientist Zorik worked at his console, analyzing the new human transmission. "Senior researcher, they've sent pictographs now, simple images of their species, their planet, and what appears to be our vessel." Clivax moved to see the images. "They're establishing basic identification concepts. This is promising." "I want all vessels to maintain defensive shields at maximum," Dralax ordered. "If they target us with one of these weather weapons, we must be prepared. The shields might disrupt our communication signals," Clivax protested. "Better disrupted communications than destroyed vessels," Dralax replied sharply. Back on Earth, General Collins authorized a new approach. "We need eyes on the ground in Oklahoma. Dr. Wright, Dr. Martinez, I want you both to fly out to the tornado zone. Take any equipment you need to measure atmospheric conditions." "What are we looking for?" Alan asked. "Anything unusual. Energy signatures, radiation, whatever might link the alien presence to these weather events." Captain Daniels would accompany them for security. As they gathered their equipment, news came in of strange weather developing in California. After years of drought, massive rainstorms were suddenly forming over the mountains. Another coincidence? Olivia wondered as they boarded the military transport. The flight to Oklahoma was tense. Below them, the landscape changed from orderly farms to chaotic destruction as they neared the tornado zone. The pilot circled the worst-hit area before, landing at a small regional airport. When they arrived at the first damaged town, Alan was struck by the silence. Buildings lay in pieces, yet the sky above was now perfectly clear and blue. "Let's set up here," he said, pointing to what had been the town square. They unpacked their equipment, specialized sensors to measure electromagnetic fields, radiation, and atmospheric composition. As the instruments began collecting data, Captain Daniels scanned the sky with high-powered binoculars. "I can actually see one of them," he said suddenly, handing the binoculars to Alan. "Look straight up, about 20 degrees to the east." Alan focused the lenses and gasped. A faint metallic shape was visible against the blue sky. The alien vessel was much lower in the atmosphere than they had realized. "They're watching us right now," he said. Above them, Chief Military Advisor Dralax observed the three humans through the Zexorian vessel's imaging system. "Look at their equipment," he said to Clivax. "They're taking readings of their weapons' effectiveness." "Or they're trying to determine if we caused the destruction," Clivax countered. "The Science Council must make a decision," Dralax insisted. "If the humans are this..." News of the alien vessels spread across the world despite government efforts to keep it quiet. Amateur astronomers spotted them and shared photos online. The strange weather events happening globally added to the growing fear. In Washington, D.C., the president met with world leaders in an emergency video conference. Countries that were usually enemies now found themselves united by a possible threat from beyond Earth. At the Pentagon, General Collins briefed her team on the latest developments. Russia, China, and the European Union have all confirmed sightings of the alien vessels, she said. Each country has been experiencing extreme weather events near the sighting locations. Dr. Linda Patel shared her progress on communication. "We've established a basic symbolic language. The aliens understand our number systems and have responded to simple concepts. But there's something strange about their messages." "What do you mean?" Alan asked. "They keep sending symbols that seem to refer to weather events, but with what looks like weapon icons alongside them," Linda explained. She displayed the alien symbols on the screen. "They think our weather is a weapon," Olivia said suddenly, the realization hitting her. "That's why they're studying the storm so closely." Captain Daniels looked skeptical. "Why would they think that?" "Think about it," Alan said, excitement in his voice. "If they come from a planet with stable climate, our weather must seem incredibly violent. Hurricanes, tornadoes, floods. What if they believe we're creating these events deliberately?" General Collins considered this. "It would explain their behavior. They're not causing our weather. They're studying it because they think we control it." In the Zexorian command vessel, tension had reached a breaking point. The Science Council appeared as holograms now joined by the military command. "The humans have revealed our presence to their entire planet," Chief Military Advisor Dralax reported. "Their leaders are gathering. We must assume they are planning a response." "That matches our analysis," Clivax agreed. "But their communications continue to be non-aggressive. They are sending us more complex mathematical concepts and images." The head counselor looked grave. "What do their messages contain?" Junior scientist Zorik stepped forward. "Many of their recent transmissions include imagery of weather events alongside what appear to be questions. They may be asking if we are causing these events. Or they're showing us their weapons and asking if we recognize their power," Dralax countered. Narsik, who had been analyzing Earth's communications, spoke up. "We've intercepted their global information network signals. Their population appears frightened by our presence, not threatening." "Fear often precedes aggression," Dralax said. "We should position our defensive systems." Back on Earth, Alan had an idea that might break through the misunderstanding. He called an urgent meeting with General Collins. If they think our weather is a weapon, we need to show them it's not, he explained. We need to demonstrate that. We are victims of weather, not controllers of it. How do you propose we do that? The general asked. We send them historical footage, Olivia suggested, catching on to Alan's idea. Show them humans fighting floods, rescuing people from hurricanes, the destruction caused by tornadoes. Linda nodded enthusiastically. I can translate these concepts into our developing symbolic language, show them that weather hurts us, that we don't control it. General Collins gave her approval, and the team worked through the night preparing the message. They gathered footage of natural disasters, rescue efforts, and weather forecasting errors that showed humans' limited ability to predict, let alone control, the weather. As they worked, reports came in of severe flooding in Europe and unprecedented snowstorms in South America, weather events happening in places where they shouldn't be possible for the season. On the Zexorian vessel, Clivax received the new human transmission with great interest. These images are unlike anything they've sent before, he told the Science Council. They show humans being harmed by weather events, attempting to rescue others, rebuilding after destruction. A deception, Dralax insisted. They want us to believe they don't control these weapons. Or they truly don't, Clivax said. What if our assumption has been wrong? What if these are natural phenomena? The timing is too convenient, Dralax argued. Weather events have increased significantly since we arrived. That cannot be coincidence. Zorik, who had been quiet, finally spoke. Senior researcher, the historical records I found mention that Earth's weather became more violent when our ancestors approached the planet. What if our presence somehow affects their atmosphere? The room fell silent as the implications sank in. If the Zexorian vessels were unintentionally causing Earth's extreme weather, they weren't observing weapons tests. They were creating a crisis and misinterpreting the results. Zorik's suggestion created a storm of debate among the Zexorian scientists. Clivax ordered immediate tests of their ship's energy fields and their effects on Earth's atmosphere. If we are causing these weather events, we must withdraw immediately, Clivax insisted. Chief Military Advisor Dralax shook his head. We cannot leave based on a theory. The humans might still be testing weapons. This could be exactly what they want, to drive us away so they can perfect their technology without observation. But if we're harming them unintentionally? Clivax began. Then we should know for certain before acting. Dralax cut him off. Run your tests, but we stay in position. Clivax turned to Zorik. Review all historical data. Find every mention of our previous contact with Earth and any notes about atmospheric disturbances. On Earth, the response to the message about humans being victims of weather came faster than expected. The aliens sent complex mathematical formulas that seemed to describe atmospheric conditions and energy fields. Linda Patel worked with meteorologists and physicists to understand the alien formulas. These look like equations for how energy interacts with atmospheric gases, she told the team. They might be trying to explain something about the weather. Alan studied the equations carefully. These describe energy transfer patterns I've never seen before, but they match some of the strange readings we've been getting from the storm systems. Are they admitting they're causing the weather? Captain Daniels asked. Maybe not deliberately, Olivia suggested. These equations might describe an unintended effect. General Collins received an urgent call and stepped away from the group. When she returned, her face was grim. We have a major situation developing. A massive hurricane has formed in the Atlantic, the largest ever recorded. It's moving toward the East Coast, and models show it could hit anywhere from Florida to New York. The satellite images showed a monster storm covering almost the entire western Atlantic. Wind speeds had already reached 200 miles per hour and were still increasing. Evacuation orders are being issued for the entire eastern seaboard, the general continued. The president is considering this a national emergency. On the Zexorian vessel, Clivax received the test results with horror. Their ship's energy fields were indeed creating disturbances in Earth's atmosphere. The longer they stayed, the worse the effects would become. We must power down all non-essential systems immediately, he ordered, and prepare to withdraw to a higher orbit. The military command has not authorized withdrawal, Dralax reminded him. People are dying because of us, Clivax said firmly. I take full responsibility for this decision. As the Zexorian vessels began powering down systems, junior scientist Zorik burst into the command center. Senior researcher. I found something crucial in the historical records, he said, breathless with excitement. Our ancestors didn't just visit Earth once, they tried to colonize it multiple times over thousands of years. Each attempt failed because of weather disasters that seemed to follow our ships. Zorik displayed ancient Zexorian texts on the main screen. They eventually realized their technology was somehow disrupting Earth's natural systems. They called Earth the Storm World and declared it off-limits for future missions. Why wasn't this information in our main historical database? Clivax demanded. The failures were considered shameful, Zorik explained. The records were hidden, preserved only in specialized scientific archives. Dralax stared at the evidence with growing concern. If this is true, then we are causing this destruction, Clivax finished. And we've done it before. On Earth, Alan noticed something strange on the weather monitors. The monster hurricane was changing. Its perfect spiral structure began to wobble and lose cohesion. Something's happening to the storm, he said, pointing to the satellite imagery. The energy readings are dropping rapidly. The aliens must be doing something, Olivia suggested. Maybe they got our message after all. General Collins received another update on her secure line. The alien vessels are changing position. They're moving to a higher orbit, away from Earth. The Zexorian ships pulled away from Earth's atmosphere. The effects were immediate and dramatic. The hurricane began to weaken, its winds slowing, and its structure breaking apart. They figured it out, Alan said with relief. They realized they were causing the weather disruptions. But the crisis wasn't over yet. Even a weakening hurricane of that size would cause major damage when it made landfall, and no one knew if the aliens would return with a solution or simply abandon Earth to avoid causing more harm. Even with the alien vessels at a higher orbit, the hurricane continued moving toward the east coast. Millions of people evacuated inland, creating massive traffic jams on highways. The National Guard helped move those without transportation. The president declared a state of emergency in 12 states. At the Pentagon, Alan watched the weather models with growing concern. The storm is weakening, but it's still dangerous. We're looking at major flooding along the entire coast. At least it's not getting worse, Olivia said, but we need to establish better communication with the aliens. If their technology affects our weather, we need to understand how. Dr. Linda Patel worked frantically on a new message to send to the Zexorians. I'm using their own equations to show we understand the connection between their ships and our weather. Then I'm asking if they can help us manage the effects. General Collins approved the message. Send it immediately, and prepare a shuttle launch if needed. We might need to meet them face to face. The idea of direct contact was both exciting and terrifying. No one knew what the Zexorians looked like or how they might react to humans in person. On the main Zexorian vessel, now positioned far from Earth's atmosphere, Clivax and his team monitored the hurricane's progress. It's still going to hit their eastern population centers, Narsik said sadly. We've caused a disaster we cannot fully stop. The Science Council is demanding answers, Dralax added. They've ordered us to return home immediately. Clivax stared at the blue planet below them. We can't leave now. We must help them if possible. Help? Them? Dralax was shocked. How? Our presence makes things worse. Not all of our technology creates these effects, Zorik pointed out. The historical records mention specific energy fields that interact with Earth's atmosphere. If we can develop shields or dampers, that could take months or years of research. Dralax interrupted. Then we should start now, Clivax said firmly. A signal came through from Earth, a new message containing their own equations about atmospheric disturbances. They understand, Clivax said with surprise. They've figured out what our ships are doing to their atmosphere. The message ended with a simple question, using their developing shared symbolic language. Can you help us? They're not threatening us or blaming us, Narsik observed. They're asking for help. Something changed in Dralax's expression. Perhaps we've misunderstood these humans from the beginning. On Earth, a video conference connected the Pentagon team with officials from other major countries. Russian, Chinese, European, and Indian scientists joined to share data and coordinate a global response. The aliens have acknowledged receipt of our message, Linda announced to the group. They're working on a response. As they waited, Alan had an idea. What if we send them our best meteorologists and atmospheric scientists? Not just data, but people who understand Earth's weather systems. If they could explain directly how our weather works naturally, it might help the aliens develop a solution faster. Are you volunteering, Dr. Wright? General Collins asked with raised eyebrows. Alan nodded. Yes, and I think Dr. Martinez should come too. Between us, we have decades of experience with Earth's atmospheric systems. It would be dangerous, the General warned. We know nothing about these beings or their environment. We have to try, Olivia said. If their technology can affect our weather this dramatically, maybe it can also be used to help us predict and prepare for natural disasters in the future. Captain Daniels stepped forward. I'll go as military escort and communications specialist. As they discussed the logistics of possible direct contact, the weakened hurricane made landfall in North Carolina. The storm surge flooded coastal towns, but the winds were much slower than feared. Early estimates suggested the damage would be serious but not catastrophic. Then, something unexpected happened. The three smaller alien vessels began moving in formation, positioning themselves over the hurricane. Energy readings from the ships changed dramatically. What are they doing? General Collins demanded. The scientists monitored the readings in amazement. The hurricane's rotation began slowing even more rapidly. The alien vessels seemed to be absorbing energy from the storm system, deliberately weakening it further. They're helping us, Alan said quietly. They figured out how to reverse the effect. On the main Zexorian vessel, Clivax watched as the support ships implemented Zoric's hastily developed plan. It's working, Zoric reported. The modified energy fields are drawing power from the storm rather than adding to it. The humans will see this as a friendly action, Clivax said. Perhaps now we can establish proper communication. A message arrived from Earth, simple but clear. Thank you. We wish to meet. 3 days after the hurricane had been weakened by the alien vessels, a NASA shuttle launched from Cape Canaveral. Aboard were Dr. Alan Wright, Dr. Olivia Martinez, Captain Eric Daniels, and Dr. Linda Patel. They carried scientific equipment but no weapons. The world watched the historic launch on television. This was humanity's first planned meeting with beings from another world. The shuttle would dock with the International Space Station first, then the Zexorian main vessel would approach for the meeting. I still can't believe we're doing this, Alan said as the shuttle cleared Earth's atmosphere. Nervous? Olivia asked. Terrified, he admitted, but also excited. Think about what we could learn from them. The shuttle docked with the ISS, where the astronauts helped them prepare for the next step. 6 hours later, they received word that the Zexorian vessel was approaching. Through the station's windows, they watched the alien ship grow larger. It was unlike anything humans had built. Smooth, with no visible engines, glowing slightly with a blue-green light. It's beautiful, Linda whispered. A tube extended from the alien vessel, creating a sealed passage to the space station's airlock. The humans waited nervously as pressure equalized. The inner door opened, and for the first time, humans and Zexorians stood face to face. Clivax led a group of 3 aliens into the station. They were tall and slender with blue-tinted skin that seemed to shimmer. Their eyes were large and dark with no visible pupils. They breathed through small tubes on their necks rather than through their small mouths. Both groups stared at each other in silence until Linda stepped forward. She raised her hand in greeting and began to speak using the mathematical and symbolic language they had developed. Clivax responded with similar symbols. Their communication was basic but clear. Over the next 4 hours, the 2 species shared information through diagrams, mathematics, and slowly through words. The Zexorians learned English quickly. Their minds adapted to understanding new concepts. Our world has consistent weather, Clivax explained in halting English. No storms like yours. When ancestors visited long ago, they thought Earth itself was attacking. Your ships create energy fields that disrupt our atmosphere, Alan said, showing diagrams of the effect. We understand now, Clivax nodded. Very sorry for damage caused. The meeting was recorded and broadcast to Earth, where people watched in amazement. These aliens weren't invaders. They were scientists who had made a mistake and then helped fix it. Our ships can now help reduce storm energy, Clivax explained. Not stop weather, but make less dangerous. That would save countless lives, Olivia said eagerly. Back on Earth, the president addressed the United Nations. Today marks a new chapter in human history. We are not alone, and we have made peaceful contact with another intelligent species. The speech emphasized cooperation, not fear. The Zexorians had technology that could help predict and reduce the impact of natural disasters. In return, humans could share their knowledge of how to survive and thrive in changing environments, something the aliens found remarkable. 2 weeks later, Alan stood on a beach in Florida, watching as Clivax experienced rain for the first time. The alien scientist held out his slender blue hands, feeling the water droplets hit his skin. On our world, water comes from ground, not sky, Clivax said with wonder. How did humans survive such conditions? Alan smiled. We adapted. That's what humans do best. We face challenges and find ways to overcome them. Your people thought our weather was a weapon, Olivia added, but it shaped us, made us stronger and more creative. Clivax nodded slowly. Now I understand. Not weapon, teacher. The Zexorian Science Council had approved an ongoing research mission to Earth. They would study how humans adapted to their challenging environment while offering technology to help predict natural disasters. Some Zexorian ships remained in orbit, now using their modified energy fields to reduce the power of dangerous storms around the world. In the first month alone, they helped weaken 2 typhoons in the Pacific that might have caused major damage. As Alan watched Clivax experiencing rain, he realized how much both species had to learn from each other. What had begun as a dangerous misunderstanding had become something wonderful, a partnership between 2 very different worlds. Welcome to Earth, Alan said, where the weather is tough, but the people are tougher.